So, as you know, CNN had had a couple of day, I guess, moratorium on having pathological liars. Maybe pathological is not the reason, not the accurate term, because they have a reason why they're lying.
Mercenary liars.
Mercenary liars on their network. But Jake Tapper invited Kellyanne Conway back on the air and asks if you think that we are fake news, but also asks, I mean, what about the president saying yesterday in that meeting with the sheriffs that the murder rate is the highest it's ever been in 47 years, which is not even, it's not the highest that it's been in 40 years, 30 years, I mean, on and on. But here is Jake Tapper and Kellyanne Conway.
And Sean Spicer's out there every day doing his press briefing. I'm happy to have the platform in CNN and other places to explain and to talk about what we're trying to do inside this White House.
Are we fake news, Kellyanne? Is CNN fake news?
No, I don't think CNN is fake news. I think there are some reports everywhere, in print, on TV, on radio, in conversation, that are not well researched and are sometimes based on falsehoods. All the palace intrigue stories, I can't even tell you. Think about how small our staff was and how small our budget was for a presidential campaign, Jake, that succeeded and saw things other people didn't see. We breathe each other's oxygen in the foxhole. We are all very close. And all the palace intrigue stories for a White House is just constant action, constant movement. They're just not true, and they're actually beside the point and hurtful. But I
if you think people behind you don't leak, I'm sad.
No, I'm sure.
I will sadly disabuse you of that notion.
I'm sure that's the case. But let me say something, I think, more pointedly, since you're talking to me, and I'm taking responsibility for something I said, and I'm trying to reach out and say, I am very open press. I've put out the olive branch. I'm on your show. Very much appreciate you having me and inviting me to be here. Just last week, while I was surrounded by a firestorm, a very prominent editor who's a contributor on a different cable news station, very prominent editor of a left-leaning site, outlet, emailed me and said, I'm about to run a story about your tweet on the Holocaust Remembrance Statement, but I wanted to give you an opportunity to respond. And I was at my daughter's play, and she was Annie, she was very good. And I emailed back, I said, did I tweet about that? And then he emailed back and he said, I'm so sorry. I'm hanging my head in shame. You carry on helping to run the country. That was a fake account. There's I'm told there's 10, 12, 15 parody accounts on Twitter about me and people, responsible. Now, I could have lit him up.
So it never aired.
Well,
it never ran.
Right, but remember, because I stopped
And the bigger issue with the Holocaust Remembrance Day statement, of course, was that it didn't mention.
Pause it for 1 second. I mean, so, in other words, she's just said, there's another way of presenting what she's just said, is that I found that this journalist, this editor, was incredibly responsible. He contacted me before he printed something to see if it was, in fact, real. And when I told him I didn't recognize that tweet, he acknowledged it was not real and apologized profusely. That's another way that Kellyanne Conway could have presented that.
But you're talking about fake news. It's the presumptive negativity about us. It's always believing there's something negative. There's some nefarious motive.
It didn't run. I can't really work up much sweat about a story that didn't run.
Hold on, it didn't run because I got in the middle of it, but I'm not revealing his name because I know firsthand what it's like to have all the haters descend upon you. And I didn't
I'm glad that reporter did his job and reached out to you before publishing anything.
Not everybody does. There's an article in the Daily Caller this week that I commend to everyone, which basically says the media's errors are starting to pile up in the Trump administration. And it lists 6 or 7 things that were said as fact that are just wrong, and people had to retract them. That's human nature, but it has to go both ways.
How about the president's statements, Kellyanne? How about the president's statements that are false, like the murder rate is the highest it's been in almost half a century? False. How about the fact that the media doesn't report on terrorist attacks? False. I mean, you can talk about some jerk with some website making a mistake or almost making a mistake.
Well, he's not a jerk. He's a friend of ours.
All right, he's a very sweet guy. But you can talk about somebody almost making a mistake and not doing it. I'm talking about the President of the United States saying things that are not true, demonstrably not true. That is important and arguably more important than whoever reached you at your daughter's play.
Well, are they more important than the many things that he says that are true that are making a difference in people's lives, I just think we want coverage of that as well.
They distract from them. They distract from the things he says.
They do. And I think, look, I think I was
Pause
handed.
it. Did you hear what you just said? Like, why aren't you reporting on the stuff that he says is true instead of reporting on the stuff that is fake? And the only reason why they're distracting is because you cover the fake stuff. So now she's asking the media to assess the lies he's telling and then just do everybody a favor and don't report the lies, just report the truths.
We could spend all of our time a lot more effectively if you weren't documenting his constant lying.
I mean, honestly, there would be a lot of
less conflict, less hullabaloo. Just let him lie.
Or you could just have a lying editor and a truth editor. And the lying editor their job would just be not to write anything.
I love the lie version of the newspaper. Truth version, they kind of have it in for me and Ivanka.
From them, they distract from the things he says.
They do. And I think, look, I think I was handed a fact sheet that perhaps the president was referring to when he talked about that today with the sheriffs, which, by the way, was an unbelievably productive, moving listening session that I attended. But when he talks about the 47 years and the rate, I'm handed the information, I think you referred to it as well, that we have had an increase from 2014 to 2015.
Yeah, I said that.
In rapes and murders and assaults. I'm probably looking at the same data you are. And so he may have heard that about a particular
FBI crime
city.
reports, but it's FBI. It's to say that there was a spike in murder rates between 2014 and 2015 is true. To say we need to bring that down and we need to have law and order, all that fine. He said it's the highest murder rate in 47 years, and the media doesn't report it.
47,
and again, Kellyanne,
the
media doesn't report it because it's a lie, because it's not true. And for the president to say that is I can't even wrap my head around it. I'll give you the last word, and then I know you have to go.
Well, I'm fine. I'm having a good time. Thanks again for having me. I think that
I'm enjoying
I will
watching
discuss
the world burn.
But I think he is relying upon data, perhaps, for a particular area. I don't know who gave him that data.
I mean, good for Jake Tapper. I don't know how Kellyanne Conway, frankly, I just don't know. I mean, that's the one question now I'd like to walk around and goes like, how is everybody not going to have a heart attack?
I think she actually seems to be
how
enjoying
is,
herself.
Just like we're all just going to wake up on one like Thursday and just everybody in the country is going to have a heart attack.
What odds would you put?
Oh, I thought you meant out of these people.
Yeah,
well, I mean,
because Tapper looks like he's I said this the other day, but I mean, the poor guy looks like he's aged 10 years. And in this clip, it looked like the saddest guy out there. She looks like the crypt keeper.
Honestly, I think we're just going to have, we're going to turn on the TV one day and it's just going to be the test pattern because everybody associated with anything is going to just.
And then Trump is going to come out and be like, why is everybody laying down? What's happening? No, but can we do? I don't get it. Did Steve, did the Muslims get us?
I knew this prostate medicine would help me.
This prostate medicine is amazing. Me and Alex are the only ones that are still kicking.
And then Tiffany pulls off her Bannon mask.
She goes, hello, father. Maybe should have dated second daughter too. No, but I mean this not even entirely as a joke, but what are the odds that the story that and that's an incredible example that you go, because I thought she would go with the MLK bust, which actually did happen, and that's the one they've been riding on for weeks.
Right.
But the fact that she literally was like, it didn't happen, and he was responsible and gracious. When does Trump come out and say, and you should have seen this terrible story that Kellyanne said something about the Holocaust on Twitter. She didn't say it, and they published it. It's terrible.
It's possible, but I just don't think they're going to bring up Holocaust too much more.
I don't know what Bannon's plan is about how and when Holocaust is used, buddy. Keep reading about him.
For all I know, Bannon's got half of those Kellyanne Conway parody Twitter accounts are his.
Yeah.
Luis Mensch posited or suggested that the alternative White House staff Twitter account was actually Bannon. I don't know how believable that is.
I mean,
I don't follow
Rogue
any of those.
POTUS
it's
or
Rogue
something?
POTUS staff.
Bannon is purely a product of the online troll world. So I mean,
it would be
shocking if he didn't use some of those tactics.
Of course. Hey, it's Sam Seder. Why don't you subscribe to this channel? You can do so right over here. Subscribe.